podcast with me, your host, Amber Elliott, founder of Amber Elliott Coaching. Today, we are going to dive into money, all things money. I'm not really sure who doesn't want more money, especially if you chose to listen to this podcast episode. You are probably trying to figure out how to create more money, how to feel free in this life, how to feel abundant. And what most people don't understand is they think that hustling harder is going to give you more money, that working harder is going to give you more money. And that is so not true. If that was true, so many more people would have wealth these days. What that is and what that comes from is programming. That programming was brought into us at a very young age, and it was brought to us and programmed into us by the people in power, by the people that are in scarcity mindset and think that by showcasing what is possible and by teaching people what is possible and how powerful they are and what they can create in this life, that is going to pose a threat to those people. They think that there's a limit. There's a limit on money. There's a limit on power. There's a limit on basically everything of that we can create in this life. There's only limited resources, and they want to hoard all those to themselves instead of really recognizing the abundance of this universe. It is quite literally limitless, and your creation power is quite literally limitless. Now, before you go and switch to another podcast episode, I just want you to sit with that because that is the truth. Your ego will likely start to fight you when you are starting to learn this stuff because your ego's job is to keep you safe. And anything that isn't familiar isn't safe. Familiarity equals safety. So this is why that you start to like freak out if you're buying a new course or you're starting a new job or you're applying for jobs or you actually get an offer that's more money than what you have been making and you're like, "Oh my God, should I take it?" And there's these programs that start to run from your ego to try to keep you and convince you to stay where you are, which your ego is not something that you should listen to if you are trying to grow. You need to learn how to train your intuition. Training your intuition is like literally the single most greatest thing you can do. And what that means, just so we don't lose anybody, is that training your intuition, it's learning how to read all the energetic fields around you. We all have energetic fields. It's really not that woo. It's really not that hippy dippity. It is that we all have light bodies around us. Everything in the physical actually needs an energetic blueprint to be able to translate into a physical object. So it's just training yourself to read that. And the funny thing is our bodies are constantly doing that. We just aren't aware of it. And then our mind is definitely not aware of it. So once we start to actually train our intuition, everything starts to open up and we can read those fields. And then we can also get down to the nitty-gritty of what's actually going to help us access our fullest potential. And we also get to share our teachings and help massive more amounts of people, which is wonderful. And that also ties in to the law of fair exchange. So just to throw that in there too, there is a universal law of fair exchange. And what that means is like whatever that you give and put out into this world will come back to you in an equal amount. Now, people get too in their heads about this a lot because they think that if I give all this value to this person, then this person needs to pay me in an equal amount of value. And why that can be part of it in like some aspects, and that is true in like some aspects, that's not really what we're trying to get out in this world. So, like providing a lot of highly valuable free content into this world to actually help people, and your focus is actually on impact, and you're actually focused on helping people access their greatest potential through whatever avenue that you work through, whatever you do, whatever your soul pool career is, that you're going to be provided for by source. So, source will give you those opportunities to get that back to you. And it doesn't necessarily have to be through the channel of all those same people that you helped. But often it can be through those same channels as well. So it's like it's not like an always rule. It doesn't always have to come back through that person. It can come back through somewhere else. So when you're doing this, don't get hung up on that. If you're calling in more money, the number one thing that I say that you should do and really root to right now is your impact. I have an impact statement that I wrote down, and before I do any work on my businesses, I read that impact statement because that is my mission, that is my soul pool, that is everything that I want to do in life and what I want to provide for people. So the impact statement is like your mission, like why your business exists, what you do for people, how you help people. When you're rooting to the transformations that you're bringing to people, you automatically will be provided for more. What bites us in the butt is when we're focusing on money and money alone. When we're focusing on money, a lot of things happen. Let's get into a few of them. So the first thing is if we're focusing on money, we're constantly wanting more money. So we're putting that frequency out into the world of, I want more money. I need more money. And that's not what we want to do because how the universe works is it doesn't hear necessarily like what we want. It instead hears what we feel. So we don't manifest what we want, we manifest how we feel. And this is very, very, very true. If we are wanting more money, that is a feeling. We feel that wanting sensation. Therefore, our reality is going to showcase that back to us. We're going to manifest more of wanting money. We're going to manifest more of needing money. And that's not your intention, right? Your intention is to actually feel abundant, to have a bank account that supports you and that contributes to being able to be on more and bigger platforms so that you can reach more people with your mission, with your impact. And to live a life that actually feels like yours, like you are meant to enjoy this life. What we see in society right now of just like spending all this time working for somebody else and not getting to live our life and not ever having like our full purpose and never being supported and taken care of. That is not how it is supposed to be. That is actually a dark force infiltration of the society and the programs that they have put on us, which I'll do more about dark forces at a later date. But just know that's not the goal of this life. This goal of this life is to learn a lot of lessons. It's to do a lot of soul growth, and it's to get into positions of teaching other people very high frequency information. So chances are, if you came to my podcast, you are a teacher soul. You might not be at this time too, and that's fine. But it is to learn lessons and to really remember who you are and to share that with the world because of how many lifetimes you have lived prior to this. You have learned a lot, and your soul has gathered all of that information and has created a soul contract for you in this life, along with your higher self, to actually bring that to humanity and help to up-level the planet and the planet's frequency. Okay, so when you're chasing money, that basically guarantees you're never going to get it. We first need to shift to impact. Like that's the biggest thing that you should do is to shift to impact because that is just going to translate out in so many areas. Like really start to write down your impact statement and what you're bringing to this world. And then in combination with that, we want to start lowering our want levels for money. There's a couple ways that you can do this. I'm going to share two right now. The first is to write a T-chart with the positives and the negatives and making more money. So what this is going to look like for you at the start is likely that you were going to have pages of positives of money. You're going to be like, it gives me this, it gives me this. I won't have to do this if I have more money. I could do this if I have more money. And now for the challenging part. We need to balance that out. We need to neutralize that want because as I was saying previously, if we keep wanting, it guarantees that we're never going to get it. So we got to neutralize it. For every single positive you wrote about money, it is time to go back and write every single negative about money and balance it out and to try and to neutralize it. This can be a very difficult task, especially if you're not used to finding the positives and negatives in every situation. So there is a universal law of balance, and the universal law of balance states that there is an equal amount of positives and negatives for quite literally everything. So when you are only seeing one side of the picture, you are literally only seeing one side of the picture. And that's the issue. You need to start to train your brain to see both sides so you are neutral about everything. This prevents us from having all those highs and all those lows in life. I'm sure you can come up with a time in your life that you got super elated about something, and then like the next day something bad had to happen because you were too high up here and you need to be in the middle. So that's why people have like such big hills of like, oh yay, I'm so happy, I'm so elated, and then like something bad happens because they're on this cycle. So to utilize the law of balance and to start to train your brain to find the positives and negatives of everything is going to help you tremendously to not get those highs and lows, but also to call in more money when you're doing this specifically for money. Now, before you get mad at me and before you're like, how do I find negatives in money? Like, I literally don't know what to do with that. There are plenty of negatives for money. So, more money equals more taxes, more money equals more responsibility, more money equals more worry that could all be taken away. More money means that you might not know why your friends are friends with you. Because when you have more money, you could attract people that just want to be around you for your money instead of who you are. So now you have an added layer of worry about that. And then you can have more money equals more accounting teams. More accounting teams can be more stress. When you're making more money, that means you're in front of more people, which means that you have to step out of your comfort zone a lot more. And that's just to name a few. Okay, and then moving on, once you have neutralized it, the second option to neutralizing money, and this is more advanced, so I definitely start with just the positive and negatives, that T-chart. You have to fall in love with your worst case scenario. When we fall in love with our worst case scenario and we actually want our worst case scenario to happen, so you write it down and then you actually want it to happen, it guarantees you'll never have it. Because as I was saying earlier, if you keep wanting something, it's never going to happen. So you have to do this with your worst case scenario too. I literally write down my worst case scenarios every time I'm launching. Like if someone, why it's the best thing ever, somebody actually doesn't buy my product or doesn't buy my course or doesn't sign up for one-on-ones. And I have to fall in love with that whole scenario. I do this across so many areas of my life too. And that guarantees that when I'm actually emotionally connecting to that and I'm rooting and wanting that worst case scenario to happen, that is guaranteeing that that worst case scenario is not going to happen. And then it bounces back to I actually get the scenario that I wanted in the first place. But because I have neutralized that scenario and fallen in love with the worst case scenario, I actually get the one that I originally desired. So it's a fun little like brain trick there. And it also takes some time. So like be gentle on yourself. Know that this is gonna take some time to train your brain because of all the programs that have been running in your brain for 20, 40, 50, 60, like whatever, how many years. It's gonna take you a moment to rewire and to actually implement and be able to emotionally connect because whenever we're doing, as I call them, ingredients, so like the T chart is an ingredient, your worst case scenario, writing that down and connecting to it, that's an ingredient. The most important thing to actually get these to work is that you emotionally connect to what you are writing. If you don't emotionally connect, you're doing like a quarter of the work and it's not going to actually shift anything. And why it's called an ingredient is because everything in life has certain recipes. So just like if you're sitting down to bake a cake, you have certain ingredients you have to get for that cake, or else you're not going to bake the cake that you originally set out to bake. And it's the same for everything in life. So for every amount of money there is, there's actually a recipe card for that and certain ingredients that you need to hold and keep holding in order to have and hold that amount of money. So with these ingredient cards, that's like one piece of the entire recipe card. Okay, and then we're going to move into starting to recognize and connect to what you think more money will bring to you. So if you think more money will bring more freedom, how do you already have that in your life? And if you truly don't, which I have a hard time believing that you wouldn't be able to find like one thing that you couldn't connect to. But anyway, even if you can or can't find anything, how can you start to bring in freedom to your day? Can it be like 5 minutes in the morning to yourself that makes you feel like you're actually free and more in control of your schedule, even if you're still working in a 9 to 5 and even if your life is still pretty crazy? Like, what would that 5 minutes a day do for you? 5 minutes a day is not that long. Like, you can do that. Everybody could do that. Everybody could do at least an hour. And if you do this right when you wake up, the first thing in the morning, your life is going to change. Like, if you keep doing that and you keep prioritizing yourself every time when you wake up, you'll be shocked at how much actually comes off your to-do list because you were showing to the universe that you deserve to be put first. This is part of that self-love aspect, which I have done podcast episodes on self-love. So go back and listen to those if you want to learn more about that. But when you're putting yourself first, you're showcasing to the universe that you deserve to be put first, which will automatically shift your creator field, which is the electromagnetic field around your body that is in charge of creating your whole reality, is made up of your thoughts, beliefs, and actions. And then what that does is your creative field hands out scripts. You can think of them as scripts to people, places, and circumstances and situations, everything that you find yourself in. And all of those people, places, circumstances, situations act out what that script is. So if you have that script of, I'm not important, I never get time to myself, I don't deserve to be put first, I never put myself first, that gets handed out to everybody else. And that's why your to-do list gets so big and you feel like nobody helps you and you don't have time for anything. It's because you aren't prioritizing yourself. When you start to prioritize yourself, you shift everything else. Again, I've talked about this in other podcast episodes. If you want to go deeper, go listen to those. Now, for another important part, is actually breaking down what money is. So, the energetic frequency of money is value. Value. So, if you do not value yourself, other people won't value you, money won't value you. This is what people get so wrong too. They just want to blame everybody instead of taking radical responsibility for themselves and say that everybody else doesn't value them. Money never comes to them. It's like this victim mentality. When really, if you are still in that victim mentality too, you are the creator of your reality. It is time to take radical responsibility if you actually want to grow and you actually want to get to your desires. So when you start to root to how valuable you are, so even do this, this is another more advanced ingredient that I know that you can all do. Just be patient with yourself, but do this every single day. I want you to sit down and journal, and I want you to find 5. It's coming to me to tell you to do 5. 5 ways that you are incredibly valuable, even if you didn't do anything today. So think of it as you were literally a couch potato on the couch. How do you bring value into the world just by being you? This is going to be very hard when you first start this because everybody wants to do, I'm only valuable if I do X, Y, Z, because that's how that's programmed in us. But you have value. Even simply existing, you are so valuable. You are so special. Like, you don't need to do anything. You can think of when a baby is born. They don't need to do anything to get unconditional love from us. They don't need to do anything to be valuable to us. It's just that baby is valuable and that baby is special because it simply exists. And that doesn't just leave you as you age. You always have that. We just forget who we are. So the exact ingredient for that, let me pull it in word by word for you. All the ways that I am valuable simply by being me. All the ways that I'm valuable simply by being me. That's going to be your brain reprogramming statement. Put this in a journal, put this in your notes app on your phone, and then find 5 ways that that is true every single day and emotionally connect. For example, like simply the energy that you bring, nobody else brings that energy. So how is your energy incredibly special? And how is your combination of experiences and knowledge incredibly special? How do you deserve to be taken care of this world? What have you brought into this world? What makes you unique? And you can get this in small details. You can get this in your personality. You can get this in your energetic frequency. You can get this in like how beautiful your smile is. Like even just if you go out to the world and you smile like that, your smile is you. Nobody can take that. That is all of you. And you bring that, and that is incredibly valuable. But stay away from things that are like, I'm valuable because I'm a hard worker at my job. Stay away from those things. Because like everybody can be a hard worker at their job if they want to. But what specifically about you has made you valuable at that job? Like I am the best problem solver there ever is, and that is because my brain works this way, and I can see all the different avenues, and I can test all the different avenues, and nobody else can do that. And I know my job inside and out. And then also my experience in my life have proved to myself what a good problem solver I am. So then I have a lot of confidence and I actually have the actual ingredients to continue to problem solve, and nobody else can match me on that level. Like go deep and go very specific. The more deep, the more specific you can go, the better those ingredients are, and the more you're emotionally connecting to them, and the more that your life is actually going to shift. So for that, that value piece is going to be massive for you because people just don't think about what money actually is outside of just being a currency. Like the energetic frequency of money is value. So if you're not feeling valuable within you, your external reality is going to showcase that. Like you're not going to get the money that you want. People aren't going to value you the way that they want. This can even show up as like your relationships. Like if people are constantly telling you you're not doing enough, it's because you're not valuing yourself. So we talked about a lot in here, and you actually have like really valuable tools to take home and start to implement. I don't want anybody to get overwhelmed here, even though overwhelmed is like a whole other topic that we could talk about. But don't let your ego prevent you from implementing these ingredients and from growing. If you are feeling resistance to actually doing this and resistance to what I have shared with you today, that is your ego talking. That is not the truth. And you could even ask yourself, like, did anything that I said, did I say today make you feel limited? Or did everything I say make you feel expansive? And if it did make you feel limited, reach out because none of this was supposed to make you feel limited. Like this is all source information. This is all meant to help you expand into your best self. And if you did feel limited, that means that I did not explain it right. So please reach out. The email is below and we will help you. Me and my team will help you clear that up. But don't let your ego win. If you want to grow, if you want to really live up to your soul's full potential, and if you really want to have an abundant bank account and live the life that you actually desire in this life, do these ingredients. This is really going to change your life. This is high frequency and valuable information. Valuable. Value equals money that will actually help you grow. This is not surface level. This is not make a vision board kind of information. This is actually the deep work that will help you get to that desired reality. If you love this episode, please leave a review, a 5-star review. That would mean the world to me. It lets me know that these podcast episodes are valuable to you, and it will motivate me to continue to make these for you. I am motivated. I love talking about this stuff, but it's just so nice to hear all of your stories and to get that feedback from you because I know that people are actually listening, they're actually implementing it, and then I can continue to show up in this avenue. I have a lot of avenues that I show up in, so I'd like to pick the ones that are truly showcasing the most value to my community and helping change lives at the level that I want to. You can also share this with a friend if you feel pulled. And I want to thank you so much for tuning in today. It means the world to me, and I'm so glad to be your guide. I hope you have a beautiful rest of your day. I hope you implement these tools. I hope that you don't let your ego win and you choose growth. And I hope that all your guides and your higher self and source and all those light beings lead you to tune in next week as well and lead you to the next steps of bringing in your most abundant self, finding your highest potential and accessing the abundance that is your birthright. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'll see you next week.